Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that all the books in the world have disappeared, that libraries are empty, that universities have lost their archives, that not a single map, not a single scientific treatise, not a single poem remains. Now think about what that would mean for humanity. Centuries of progress, of answered questions, of discoveries, erased in the blink of an eye. The darkness of oblivion would spread like an eternal shadow. That is exactly what many believe happened more than 2,000 years ago in the city of Alexandria, when fire consumed the most famous library in history. A mythical place that, according to legend, contained all the knowledge of the ancient world. Today, we are going to dive into that story. A story of ambition, wisdom, wars, and fanaticism. The story of the Library of Alexandria, the dream of gathering the wisdom of the world, and the nightmare of seeing it vanish in flames. It all begins in 331 BC. Alexander the Great, the young conqueror who had defeated the mighty Persian Empire, arrives in Egypt. The location was strategic, a point on the Mediterranean coast with a natural sheltered harbor and easy access to the fertile Nile River. There, Alexander orders the founding of a city that would bear his name, Alexandria. But Alexander was not satisfied with building fortresses and walls. His ambition went further. He dreamed of uniting East and West in a single cultural empire. He imagined a place where ideas could travel as fast as armies, where Egyptian wisdom would meet Greek knowledge, and where learning would become the foundation of eternal power. Fate, however, did not grant him the time to see it. Alexander would die at just 32 years old, and it was his general, Ptolemy, who inherited Egypt and turned that city into the jewel of his kingdom. The Ptolemies understood something fundamental. Who controls knowledge controls the world. Thus was born the Mouseion, a center dedicated to the muses, goddesses of the arts and sciences. It was not just a temple, it was something much greater. A research institute, a university in the 3rd century BC. Alongside it, they began building the Library of Alexandria. And it would not be just any library. The Ptolemaic kings wanted every book in the world to be housed there. Their policy was aggressive. Every ship that entered Alexandria's harbor was inspected. If it carried books, manuscripts, or scrolls, they were taken to the library. Scribes carefully copied them. The copy was returned to the owner, but the original, deemed more valuable, remained in the hands of the Ptolemies. In this way, within just a few decades, Alexandria became the largest archive of antiquity. Some estimates speak of 400,000 to 700,000 papyrus scrolls stored on its shelves. A colossal number, considering that each scroll was equivalent to a complete book. Imagine those corridors, endless rows of wooden shelves, scrolls carefully ordered and classified, a solemn silence broken only by the scribes' pens. There, the knowledge of the entire world rested safely. But what did those scrolls contain? The answer is as fascinating as it is painful, because almost nothing has survived. However, we know that texts from the great Greek, Egyptian, Babylonian sages, and even from lands farther away, were preserved there. In mathematics, Euclid wrote his famous Elements, the geometry manual studied for more than 1,000 years. In astronomy, Aristarchus of Samos proposed that the Earth revolved around the Sun, nearly 1,800 years before Copernicus confirmed it. In geography, Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the Earth with astonishing precision, using only shadows and stakes. In medicine, Herophilos practiced human dissections and described the nervous system and the brain centuries before Europe rediscovered it. And that is only what we know from later references. Many other texts vanished without a trace: the complete tragedies of Aeschylus and Sophocles, Mesopotamian epics we have never read again, treatises on engineering, mechanics, and alchemy. The Library of Alexandria was, in short, the Google of antiquity, a place where humanity gathered its memory, its dreams, and its discoveries. 48 BC. The Mediterranean is at war. Rome, the great power of the West, is living through one of the most turbulent moments in its history: the civil war between Julius Caesar and Pompey. After Pompey's defeat at Pharsalus, Caesar pursues him to Egypt. But upon arrival, he is met with a gruesome surprise. Pompey has been assassinated on the orders of Pharaoh Ptolemy XIII, who hopes to gain Caesar's favor. The gesture, however, enrages Caesar. He decides to remain in Alexandria and take political control of Egypt. He supports Cleopatra, Ptolemy's sister, in her fight for the throne. And so, the city becomes the stage of urban warfare: Romans against Egyptians, brother against sister. Amid the chaos, Caesar finds himself trapped in Alexandria's harbor. His enemies are numerous and outnumber him. Then he makes a desperate decision. He orders the enemy ships to be set on fire to block them and secure his hold on the coast. The flames spread rapidly. Black smoke fills the sky, and the wind carries the fire toward warehouses near the harbor. There, according to some accounts, scrolls and manuscripts from the Great Library of Alexandria were stored. How severe was the fire? The truth is that sources disagree. Plutarch says the fire destroyed a large part of the library. Dio Cassius speaks of 400,000 scrolls lost in the disaster. Strabo, who visited Alexandria shortly after, describes the city but does not mention the library's destruction directly. This has led modern historians into passionate debate. Was the main library really burned, or only one of its storage depots? Some believe the scrolls destroyed were not inside the main building, but in the warehouses near the port, where manuscripts awaited copying. It is possible that the library, located inside the Mauseon complex, largely survived, at least for a time. But Caesar's fire was not the end. The library, like a stubborn flame, lived on. The Ptolemies, Cleopatra, even the Romans tried to keep it alive. But Alexandria was too coveted, and each century brought new wars and new losses. In the 3rd century AD, Emperor Aurelian crushed a rebellion in Alexandria. Whole districts were burned down, including Bruttium, the district where the library stood. Under Diocletian, another blow came. Dangerous texts, especially on alchemy, were confiscated and destroyed by imperial decree. In 391 AD, Emperor Theodosius declared Christianity the official religion of the empire and banned pagan cults. In Alexandria, this meant the destruction of the Serapeum, a majestic temple that served as an annex to the library. Fanatics stormed it, smashing statues, scattering scrolls, and burning papyri. The library was no longer a beacon of knowledge. It was a wounded corpse, plundered by the centuries. And yet, even among the ruins, the light of knowledge still shone. In the 4th century, Alexandria gave birth to one of the brightest minds of antiquity, Hypatia. Daughter of mathematician Theon, Hypatia became a philosopher, astronomer, and teacher. She taught at the Mauseon and drew students from all across the Mediterranean. She spoke of geometry, of the orbits of the stars, of Platonic philosophy. She was respected and admired by all, even rulers. Imagine the scene: a woman in a world ruled by men, standing in an open classroom, scrolls unrolled, speaking of the harmony of the universe, while her disciples wrote down her every word. But her brilliance also drew hatred. In 415 AD,